Some of the biggest Super Bowl winners this year didn't even air a single $10 million TV commercial. Instead, they showed up where people actually were, on social media, on their phones, and in real time. Today, we're breaking down how brands like DoorDash and Chipotle skipped airtime and still won Super Bowl Sunday. So if anyone knows anything about Super Bowl, which I'm sure everyone's listening does, yes, advertising has traditionally been all about the commercials. And everyone knows that, it's the most expensive time to have a 30-second slot on television. And many people notoriously watch the Super Bowl just for the commercials.
I know that's what I've been doing even since I was a kid. And usually 30-second commercials are like $10 million.
Yeah, they go up. They're going up every year.
Every year. So
just to have that spot, not even the budget to film it, to hire the actors, the celebrities.
They're bringing out the biggest actors, celebrities. But yes, $10 million for 30 seconds.
But audience behavior has shifted. Super Bowl Sunday is now a second screen event. I even said that I didn't want to go out this year. I wanted to be at, a house party or watching it with people because I like to follow what's going on online at the same time. And when you're out and about, like at a bar or something like that, you kind of miss out.
You can't be like socializing, watching the screen and on your phone.
Yeah, and like Instagram.
Plopped on the couch.
Exactly. And Instagram and Threads really were the bulk of a lot of that in the moment reactions to the game, to the Super Bowl halftime, to the commercials. People were setting things in group chats.
Controversy that's going on during the game. And of course, during the halftime show. And also, I still like to use X for real-time events.
Yes. And people were ordering more food online during these quarters than ever before. A lot of times people think, which I would not, I feel like I would never recommend to order food during Super Bowl Sunday because I feel like you're going to be waiting hours and hours on your food.
Especially like during halftime.
Yeah, but they said, I even saw a post where like there was like a Wingstop with a line out the door of just like DoorDash and Uber Eats drivers. Yeah. But more people were on their phone than ever doing all of these things. So that means attention is split. Brands that understand this, they're designing campaigns for phones first and not TV because they're learning that they can save a ton of money, can still capture eyeballs, can still capture attention as long as the ads are really good. Like on TV, you're kind of forced to watch that ad for that 30 seconds because whereas on social media, you could skip, you could scroll, but it's so much cheaper.
But instead of skipping the commercials, what I do is I just go on my phone because that's what most of us do now is we're just levitated towards our phone. So, of course, they created this content for on phone versus on screen.
Yes. And even the ones who did their TV screen commercials, they even tried to jump on that trend and do some for Reels and some for TikTok, knowing that people would go.
Convertible.
But those who were already there, they kind of saved a lot of money and were able to capture attention. And it's rethinking that people and brands are having more of a social first mindset versus TV first.
And I mean, I know last year there's something that we saw a lot in the commercials is influencers in the commercials for the first time. Not first time, but just as much as for the first time last year. And this year, we saw a lot of influencers planting the seed for like that they will be in the commercials. So, example, one of my favorites, Paige DeSorbo, she was in Kinder Bueno and she was like lightly like plotting that she'll be in it. So to like keep an eye out for her. So I loved that.
Yes. And, it just goes to show that the real competition isn't just other commercials anymore. It's whatever happening on someone's screen at the same time, which brings us to talk about two specific examples I want to bring up on this episode. It's DoorDash and Chipotle. They both notoriously decided to skip the multi-million-dollar TV commercials, and they invested in a full social-first campaign.
Which I found funny, DoorDash, because everyone was saying to, food delivery during the games.
Yeah.
DoorDash knew what they were doing.
Yes, and we could talk about that one first. So DoorDash, they launched something called the Big Beef campaign. And I mean, there's a lot of controversy about it because really it's using 50 Cent, picking on P. Diddy and all that he went through for this success of an ad. It's a very bold. Yes, it's a very social first cultural moment.
Yes.
And, 50 Cent kind of, gets this nickname lately as the king of trolls. So they leaned into that. They did a scripted commercial where he's pulling out stuff he ordered from DoorDash and it's like teasing P. Diddy on purpose. And some people hated it. Some people were like, oh, well, you are making fun of a very serious situation.
Yeah.
And some people loved it. But no matter what, whether you liked it, hated it, no matter whatever your
Still
thoughts were.
talking about it.
Exactly. People were talking about it.
Yes.
People watched it. People sent it. And it did turn cultural context into comedy. Whether you think the situation, is bad, everyone thinks it's bad. He was very funny in the delivery. They were very funny in the way they filmed it. You had staff laughing around, and you heard the staff laughing in the commercial. Yes. And it felt authentic because 50 Cent has been trolling in all these interviews.
It's like what he does, and they didn't just like throw him in the commercial.
Exactly.
Him,
and it's a moment that's not too far gone.
Yeah,
still pretty recent.
Yes.
Everyone kind of watched the documentary that came out on Netflix around like the holidays time. So we're not still far off it.
A topic that's gaining traction, plus adding on top of 50 Cent.
Exactly.
DoorDash.
Exactly. And then another one is Chipotle. Yes. So Chipotle, and they've been big on lately trying to capture what the audience is talking about. So they released, which I feel like I tease that this is so silly, but they released recently like macro-friendly and high-protein options, which, to be honest, it's the same thing that it's always been at Chipotle. It's just like, don't order rice. Don't put
up of
sour cream. Yes,
sour cream.
Like it's not that genius, but they're smart.
Yes.
They're filling in buzzworthy terms and getting shown.
They're really, grasping the realness, freshness of like Chipotle and trying to position themselves that way, which I feel like Chipotle was like the start of all these like just salads, sweet greens, like
bowls. Yes. So they always are kind of on the pulse of everything. But they made theirs about like kind of appealing to hunger, people having their phones in their hand, and people wanting fast decisions.
Like quickness.
Yes. So they did a text to claim promo that turned passive viewers into active participants. They were giving $1 million away in burritos. And when people are already thinking about food and they're scrolling, that's exciting.
Plus a free burrito from Chipotle.
Yes.
But mainly what they were also, I saw that a lot of people feedback from the commercials overall is that all of them were like AI and like towards AI. And that was something Chipotle was steering against. They were steering towards like freshness, realness, and just something that AI can't do.
Right. And it was amazing. Yes. And to build on that, it wasn't a passive ad. It wasn't like you watched it, you laughed, you kept going. It made people take a step right away.
It was interactive.
Yes. To get that free burrito, to interact, to do a text, do an action. Yes. So having that actionable component kind of turned people to really give their attention to them versus I scroll, I watch, and I keep going. And I feel like a lot of brands will start to do that. There was a Volkswagen ad that also went kind of viral on TikTok days later, that they had like a number in their commercial. So while they did use TV, they tried to jump into the social world because they had a phone number in like on like a car that said like, I think wash me or call me, something funny. Someone called it. Then it led them to like a social post. Then that social post led them to it was a whole like scavenger hunt. Basically, if you got all the way through, you got like a hat or something small, but it was a reward. But it goes to show that people kind of like the gamification or like the action to something, and people will do it if they see a reason to.
Yeah.
Now, I think that was kind of a missed opportunity in the sense of like a lot of people probably didn't call, and they probably didn't have that many hats to give away anyways.
Very like clear.
Yeah, and that was the point, I guess, to be more like a scavenger hunt.
Looking, if you know, you know.
And they didn't have that many to give away, but like Chipotle was really bold about it and people took action. So I think we'll see more ads going forward of like,
actionable.
Yes, and it's not just buy, but it's these little steps between.
I think also what really made the grasp is that it was instant versus like text us for this code, and then this code will just be sitting in this person's phone for days until it expires. So this was in the moment.
Yes. And these brands that it shows like DoorDash, Chipotle, they didn't need airtime. They just needed timing, relevance, and participation, and it worked.
Yeah, Chipotle didn't opt out of the Super Bowl. They just aren't paying the big TV tax of
exactly. Another thing we could talk about is brands who are doing real-time engagement during these big events. So a good example is the Elmo social media account, which is hilarious.
Yes.
Elmo is notorious for jumping in on almost everything. Not so long ago, Taylor Swift released a new music video, and Elmo jumped in on that. Like Elmo is
Elmo
winning
her toe.
Yes. So they had Elmo live reacting to the Super Bowl, and Elmo did a cute post about how it's not Bad Bunny, but it's Good Bunny. And it just brought cultural awareness, to the brand. It made people laugh. People retweeted, they reposted.
It brought nearly 9 million views, that tweet alone.
Yes. Yes. And it was timely, positive, and it aligned with their brand voice. It wasn't something out of the ordinary that Elmo wouldn't say. It wasn't sassy. It was very kind.
Neutral.
Elmo's kind.
Because I feel it was already like a controversy topic. So
Yes.
Elmo kept it very neutral, but also shows that it was real timing because no one knew what was going to happen, of course, during the halftime show.
Exactly.
So in the moment, someone was there thinking about it.
Yes. And brands who did jump on that or were live participating, they got to still have views. They got to still have engagement without spending money on a TV ad, without hiring celebrities and doing some major commercial or gig on social media. Yeah, sometimes it's just being there and understanding your brand voice, culture, timing, that you could still win. And I think the big takeaway is you don't need, like I said, a massive production budget. You just need to be there and to be fast
And true to you and
Exactly.
your brand, nothing out of the ordinary.
No. That's like Wendy's does a good job. I always bring up, they're like a great example of they troll a lot, but it's in their brand to troll. Now, if it's not in your brand to troll, don't go that route. And like for Elmo, it's in Elmo's brand to just be kind and positive. So Elmo went that route. So it's understanding time and place. But also, if Elmo would have, put that tweet out a day later or 2 days later, the moment would have been missed.
And it could have been like drowned in all the other
Yes.
controversy of the halftime show. It's going to also say Duolingo did something funny also for the halftime show. And it was like prepare for, of course, because it was Spanish, prepare for the halftime show with a refresher of Duolingo Spanish. And I was like, that is a great way to grab.
That's so good.
Just a great notification that everyone needs.
Yes, and in last week's episode, our guest also brought up Duolingo. So Duolingo is consistently staying on it with what's going on.
Yes.
So what does this mean for brands moving forward? I think it's not about who buys the biggest TV spot, the best time. I think it's actually finding where attention actually lives, how people behave in real time, and how to create moments that people can participate in.
And where your attention lives.
Yes.
Elmo with Twitter, Instagram, with Chipotle, DoorDash being like its own,
Yes. And I think it's having those social first strategies. A lot of people think of social media, like a lot of these big companies or marketing agencies used to think of social media as an add-on or as it's there, but now it really is a social first world.
included in the mix.
Yes, a lot of times it's first.
Yes.
So it's how to be reactive instead of rigid. If you have social media posts planned, maybe they're not all planned. Maybe they're, suggested, but you tweak them to fit with the event or tweak them what's going on. Exactly.
That's why we always say it's best to have like a pipeline of what's prepared, but also being able to adjust.
Yes. And then part of the social first strategy is thinking about how to extend impact beyond the 30-second video clip or beyond the tweet or beyond the thread.
Like
what can go next?
faster.
Exactly. And then measure engagement, not just impressions. A lot of people talk about viewership, impressions, but who engaged? And we talk about engagement. That's a like, a comment, a share, a save. It's taking a step. So it's one thing to see it, but it's another thing to take a step. When people are taking a step, that's when there's true success there. And that's a better metric to measure.
I think like as the brand or the business owner, you have to think, okay, well, what did I get from these millions of views? What's the ROI on that? And that's where you have to really adjust. And I think, Chipotle is like the takeaway now is like their freshness and realness in their food versus like others on the market.
Definitely. And as we talked about, the real win is about being seen. It's about being talked about, whether it's good or bad. People are talking about your brand. But if they're not talking about your brand, then what's the point?
You're not making a big enough impact.
Yes. So kind of be bold and go for it.
Beyond these 10 million spots, the brands that win are the ones that understand culture, timing, and what works, especially on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see what happens next year. And I think even for some of these other big televised events and the Olympics happening and some of these more award show seasons happening, I think we can start to see more brands kind of taking advantage of viewership and the moment of, virality and see what they do next.
And translating it all into social media. I mean, we see so many of them chopping it up to 10, 15 seconds to fit these TikToks and Reels. And
yeah, and instead of chopping up, maybe making it for social first, as we talked about.
Others I've seen, they do great memes.
Yes.
Like screenshots of the event, like the next day.
Yes.
You have to, even if you have nothing really to do with social media, how can you gain traction by like tying into it?
Exactly.
That's always fun to see.
Yes, because we will probably have another episode very soon covering the next trend, because these things are always changing, but at least we can say, this is what we think now.